Everybody, it's Jeff, and I want to walk through in this video what to do with this coin. I think it has upgrade potential. As you can see, this is an 1866 Indian head penny, graded mint state 65 red brown with a lovely CAC sticker. And probably the most important thing is the number on that cert, 290371. Given how low that number is, this obviously implies this is one of the older holders. There is actually appeal in these old holders with CAC stickers, under the assumption that they probably trade for more than an average coin in an average mint state 65 red brown holder. So there's premium to this holder. But what if I think this is a potential mint state 66 type coin? I want to try and get a closer look to explain the reasoning why, and it's really hard on video to see how nice this coin really is. You could see the strike quality is fantastic. The fields are extremely clean. And this particular coin, really no detracting marks whatsoever. And then the reverse looks just as nice for being in a video using a phone. There is a couple tiny little black marks just around the O and 1 that potentially could hold this back. By no means am I thinking this is a foregone conclusion, but as you can see on the image here of another actual graded PCGS mint state 66 version, red brown, this is why I think this coin in particular is a little nicer than that one, and perhaps deserving of at least the thought, should we walk through and should we do this? So you say, okay, well, let's go through the logic here. This is kind of how I do things. And feel free to take it or provide comments down below of what you think, if this was a good addition or a good thought or not. As you can see at the very top, an NGC mint state 65 red brown CAC in an original holder. OGH is essentially an original holder. It's the acronym for it. This particular coin trades for around $1,200. If somehow it could find its way into a PCGS mint state 66 holder, suddenly the coin is worth $2,300. Or as you can see, an $1,100 profit, if you want to consider it that, or $1,100 change. If it somehow finds its way into an NGC mint state 66 holder, it'll be worth a little less than the PCGS version, but still profitable, $2,150 versus the $1,200 today, or about $950 better. So then you come in and you say, okay, well, let's walk through just how much this costs. You could see PCGS, it cost roughly $75 to submit it, which the nice thing about PCGS, the entire risk is the cost of submission. And I say it that way because they don't take it out of the holder. They look at the holder as is. They will say whether or not it crosses. So you would spend $75 to potentially see if it crosses. And if it does, then they'll put it in the PCGS holder, mint state 66. Of course, there's no CAC sticker, but it'll be worth $2,300. So the reward is potentially $1,100. And the risk is, of course, the submission cost of $75 and the fact that it probably will take 2 months. That's choice number one. Choice number two, of course, is the NGC, what they call Regrade. The submission cost is very similar, around $70, but you'll notice I have a new holder risk of around $200. This worries me a little bit, simply because NGC, when you ask them to regrade an NGC coin, what they do is they immediately take it out of the holder into its raw form, send it through the graders that way, and let them judge what the coin will grade as. In my opinion, taking it out of this old holder with the CAC sticker and putting it into a new NGC mint state 65 holder, should it not upgrade, will probably take the coin from $1,200 down to $1,000. So that is real and absolute risk, which means not only the submission cost and time, but the new holder takes that risk to $270 versus the PCGS risk of 75. And at the same time, the NGC Mint State 66 holder probably won't trade for as good as what the PCGS one would trade for. So that will be about $950 reward. Now from here you say, okay, logically, you see these two, PCGS 75 risk, 1100 reward, NGC 270 risk, 950 reward. And the natural thought is, well, good Lord, why not just send it to PCGS and risk less and potentially make more? And this is where I might throw a curveball at you and say I actually would do the opposite. And it all boils down to, what are the odds of success? The one thing I've noticed, I've tried to cross over a handful of NGC coins with absolutely zero success. Now, granted, none of them were old holders with CAC stickers. But even then, I admit, I think there's an element of pride in PCGS in their grading standards whenever they see an NGC holder. Whether or not they think it could be a Mint State 66, they're perhaps less likely to grade it that way. So then it kind of goes down to the odds of success. To really judge the true right decision here, I would put the odds of success of sending it to PCGS at just 20%. Which means I only have a 20% chance of making $1,100, whereas I have an 80% chance of losing out on my submission cost of $75. And this idea of expected value is kind of, if you were to play this game a bunch of times, and only 20% of the time you make $1,100, and 80% of the time you lose $75, over the long run, you're going to make around $160 in each turn, which is still positive. There's still reason to probably still try at PCGS, but is that really the correct place to go? And then it kind of goes to this odds of success in NGC. Now, granted, these are my gut instincts of success, and that's where this math will differ based on whoever's making that percentage probability. But you think about it, if the total risk at NGC is $270 and the reward's $950, but in my opinion, if you send an old NGC holder with a CAC sticker to NGC, they will probably look at the coin very differently and say that is a good potential for an upgrade. The odds of success might be closer to 2/3 of the time it upgrades, 1/3 it doesn't, which means if 2/3 of the time you make $950, but 1/3 of the time you lose $270, then perhaps it is actually better to send to NGC as a regrade. So I walked through a lot here, but I think this is really useful way to think about whether or not one should cross over to another holder or regrade if they think they have upgrade potential. And you'll notice that in neither case did I say crack it out and send it in raw, because in my opinion, the grading companies have gotten tougher with their standards recently. And I believe it is much more difficult to send in old coins raw because most of the grading companies now, I think, see a coin that should have been in a holder that is not in a holder and assume there's probably something wrong with it, especially old copper coins. They're most likely to slap cleaned or questionable color, and that's just too risky in my opinion because it might come back in a much worse holder than Mint State 65. So these are the two choices. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more.